What is up, fellow football fans, and welcome back to another edition of the ONETA Football Show, brought to you by PTE Creative. As always, I'm your host, Evan Davies, and we have a full slate of Week 1 preview to get to, plus some bold predictions for the season. Football is finally here, so let's get to these game previews right here, right now. Now, if you did not see on the ONETA Show on Tuesday, I did a full season breakdown. You're hearing that correct. I picked every single game, as I always do prior to the season. It's the first time I've ever been able to share it with you guys, though. It's the first time I'm sharing these with you because it's the first time we've done it in podcast history, because I didn't have a podcast prior to this. But I've picked every single game ahead of time. I always do that, try to give myself an idea of what I think each team's going to be. So that's kind of inform how I'm feeling going into week one. And then the beauty of week one is you never know how the hell anyone's going to perform. So you're going to see a lot of things. So I'm going to give, in all of our weekly previews from now on, I'm going to be giving a category to the game, whether it's toss-up. If I'm confident in it, I'm confident this is what the result of the game is going to be. I'm going to give you toss-up if it's just kind of like, and you're going to see a lot of those week one. Those are the two that are really shape the NFL season. Or I might give you the occasional upset where I am confident the other way that this is what's going to. I'm confident usually the way most think I might go opposite and go upset. You're not going to see upset a ton, but you might, depending on how I feel about certain teams. So that's how we're going to be doing it, and you can see I've already picked every single game. However, I'm going to be doing weekly. It's going to be slightly different because I'm going to adjust to what the season gives us and what teams look like. You might even see slight waffling already from those results. So it's going to be a heck of a lot of fun. But we have to go to Baltimore and Kansas City. So let's go do it. Friends, Baltimore Ravens at the Kansas City Chiefs, and here's the most important.
Boy, we are going to play a football game tonight, boys.
That is correct,
It's going to be a great
folks.
night tonight.
That is correct. We are going to play a football game tonight. We have the Baltimore Ravens visiting the two-time defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City money line is -3. So I gave a full game preview on the ONETA Show on Tuesday, so I'm not going to fully do that again. To me, it's what continuity works and what new pieces come together. And that might sound like the most easy and ridiculous thing in the world, which I totally understand. However, you're seeing major changes on both teams, with Kansas City's trying to get more high-powered offense with the Xavier Worthy Brown. Marquise Brown is not playing in this game, though. But we're trying to go that way, and they lost L'Jarius Sneed and Willie. Meanwhile, Baltimore, more continuity on the offensive side of the ball, which is tremendous. They added Derrick Henry. They wanted to really bolster up that side of their team. Their defense, on the other hand, they did lose Patrick Queen. They lost a few other guys with the departure of Mike McDonald. So it's going to be a hairy one nonetheless. I think Baltimore's going to squeak this one out 24-21. It's definitely a toss-up game for me. I would stay away. If I were a bettor, I'd stay away from the game entirely. That's always my betting advice on a game that's a toss-up. Just stay away. Unless you just cannot resist, stay away from it. All right, game 2, the game I'm looking to the most. You already know it. It's the season opener. The Green Bay Packers, the Cheeseheads, are opening in Brazil, which is technically a home game for the Philadelphia Eagles. This one's a pretty interesting one to me. It's the tale of two momentums. Green Bay, coming off the high of a young season that wasn't supposed to be that promising, turned into now everyone believes they're a Super Bowl contender, which they are. Meanwhile, Philadelphia has to erase the last 6 weeks of their season from last year out of their memory to really go forward. Their defensive line is apparently improving in Philadelphia, but they're not going to have Devin White in this game, which is a big difference. And they have a new secondary. They have an improved secondary from a draft capital standpoint. Gene, Mitchell, they should theoretically be better. However, new secondaries I think always take a little bit of time to marinate. Um, there's just something about Philly I don't trust. It's called Nick Sirianni, but nonetheless, that's something that's quite important to me to figure out what's going on there. Meanwhile, we have Romeo Doubs and Tucker Kraft both limited in practice for Green Bay. As you can see, I'm fully ready for the season with my glittery green and yellow nails as well. But this is a toss-up game to me. I'm going 27-24 Green Bay. I think this comes down to, can the pass rush of Green Bay that was improving last year, but still hasn't shown to be the major consistent player they can, with those new pieces and that new linebacking core backing them up with Hafley's defense, can they really attack the offense of the Philadelphia Eagles enough where I think it's what defense can stop the high-powered offense the most? And I'm just giving the edge to Green Bay down in Sao Paulo for this game, which I think is important. All right, we move on from the Friday game. It's so awesome to have a Friday game. God, it's great to have a Friday game. It's beyond measure. I'm super happy to do that. We're going to head on over. And by the way, Philly was -3 in that game. Again, toss-up game. I'm not touching that one. It's, again, I took Green Bay, but nonetheless, I'm not touching that game if I'm a better. All right, we go to New England Patriots at the Cincinnati Bengals. Okay, let's just get it straight out of the way here. This is what the Bengals should be feeling like. Straight cash, homie. That is correct. Straight cash, homie. I am not a huge believer in the Cincinnati Bengals. However, I am the ultimate detractor of the New England Patriots. I think they're the most talent-poor team in the league. And I have zero faith in them. Cincinnati is -8.5. I would honestly take that, which is insane to me. This is the first confident game I have all year, which, if you're telling me I like playing straight ups. Less margin of error there. I would still take the straight up over the points, but if you want to do the point spread, I think this is still pretty safe. With Cincinnati now being healthy, Joe Burrow's in a pissy mood. Jamar Chase, although limited in practice, did come back to practice. T. Higgins is still available for them. Who in the hell in New England's going to stop that offense right now? They're not. I have the final score 30-13 Cincinnati. New England, suspect offensive line, no real weaponry on the offensive side of the ball. Defense, you have a few pieces, but you also did just trade away Matthew Judon, so that doesn't help you as well. Get ready for a long season in New England, my friends, because it's going to be brutal, and it's going to, again, be something that I like to call straight cash, homie. For the Cincinnati Bengals. Alrighty, we're going to go, not to the schedule view, because that's not what we want to do. We're going to go to the game previews once again. Game 4, we have Arizona at Buffalo. This, my friends, is an intriguing matchup for me. I'm going back. I originally made this game a confident game. I'm going to a toss-up. Never, ever doubt Kyler Murray in a game where you think they can't win. Especially early in the season, because that's when Kyler pulled some bullshit out of his hat. Big things here for me. I think Buffalo's going to win this game. I think conventionally they can win this game, and they should win this game. Josh Allen, the pieces they have on offense, the pieces they have on defense, I think are more than what Arizona can do. However, Arizona, competitive all year and was shown to be a pretty decent team last year at the end of the year once they got Kyler back in their lineup. Their defense is improved. Plus, their offense finally has a weapon that isn't Trey McBride. Okay? Marvin Harrison Jr. is the truth. Just, he fits the part, looks the part, is the part because he is the truth. And now you have that with Kyler being able to run around and healthy now. it's all systems go in Arizona. I would put Buffalo on upset alert. Do not be shocked if Buffalo loses this game, but I'm still going to pick Buffalo in this. Buffalo is -6. They're favored by 6 points. That is outrageous to me. I would not touch that. I wouldn't touch that at all. I'm going 24-20 Buffalo, but admittedly, I will be rooting for my boy Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. It's just me. Now, before we go to Game 5, which will be Jacksonville at Miami. So before we get to Jacksonville and Miami, I do want to give a little news and notes for everybody here. I love being a small-time creator. I think it's absolutely fun and awesome to share your thoughts online and potentially meet some friends, meet some people online, and support others. That's kind of the biggest thing for me. So one thing that we're going to be doing now on any show that we can find a partner for is we're going to be doing a small creator shout-out. So, if you are listening to this and you have a YouTube channel, a social media account, podcast, whatever the case may be, and you want to promote it, all you need to do, all you need to do, jeez Louise, I keep doing it again. All you need to do is subscribe to the channel, write a message on this video specifying, hey, I want to be part of that small creator shout out. We'll start talking, and maybe we're going to do that for you. Because I want to also help others as I try to raise up as well. So we're going to start doing the small creator shout out, which is going to be really fun and really cool. So if you want to be a part of that, all you got to do, comment on this video once you subscribe, and you're going to be good to go. We're going to check that right there. Make sure your subscribers are public as much as you possibly can. So your subscriptions are public. But I want to help others do that. So all you got to do is do that, and you can be getting a shout out in any of our podcasts or any of our videos, not just the ONETA Football Show. So go check that out and go get yourself a shout out because it'd be super cool. But from the ONETA Football Show, we want to help our small time creators, so go do that as much as you possibly can. Now we're back to the game previews with Game 5 here of the slate. And that is Jacksonville at Miami. Unfortunately, they still used the most average of average quarterbacks in Tua Tagovailoa to advertise that. But nonetheless, that is what happens here that I do not necessarily agree with. Now, one thing that I think is important to note here in Miami for this game is this. When I look at these notes here of what I'm seeing Mike McDaniel, as the coach of the Dolphins, has shown to be very innovative early in seasons. He's kind of got that Andy Reid vibe, in which he's always throwing new things out that people have never seen early, and then making people adjust. He has an Andy Reid style vibe to him. Andy's the best at it, but Mike McDaniel does have a bit of that to him. And you're going to need to do that against an unknown defensive line component in Jacksonville. That's going to be hard to stop. However, you also have a Miami team that is down their best pass rusher in Bradley Chubb. Jalen Phillips is coming off an Achilles injury as well. So your two best pass rushers in Miami, one is hobbled or coming off being hobbled. The other one's out for this game. That's a really tough order to ask for Miami against Jacksonville that now has more weapons with Gabe Davis, with Brian Thomas Jr. However, I'm not super high on Jacksonville. They always seem to win more games than I think they're going to, but at the end of the day, I'm usually proven right because they kind of collapse. But I also think Miami's going to collapse, but I have all the faith in the world that Miami's good September and October. I just don't believe in them in November, December. Miami is favored -3 in this game. I would probably take that. I would still consider this a toss-up game, but I would take the -3. I'm going 34-27 Miami in this game. I think it's worthwhile, and I would certainly take Miami straight up in a game. So that's what I would do there. Alrighty, game 6. Houston Texans at Indianapolis Colts. This is a fun one. This could be a highlight game for me. I'm very excited to see what Anthony Richardson does coming off of that injury, and I'm very interested to see how the Texans look post being crowned the new young hot team. There's a lot of people that are high on Houston in a way that the Super Bowl. I don't know if they're Super Bowl yet, but I'm not going to say no either. My big things with Houston and Indianapolis is this. Houston has some continuity on defense, but they lost some pass rushers, and they brought in Danielle Hunter. I'm a huge Danielle Hunter fan. I think Danielle Hunter is a phenomenal pass rusher. However, you're bringing new pieces into that defense. On the flip side, in Indianapolis, you have Michael Pittman Jr. and Jonathan Taylor, with an Anthony Richardson that in preseason footage did not look confident in that arm as much anymore. Not that he can't throw it, he just isn't ready with the shoulder yet. He doesn't feel it yet. And that's a problematic place to be in. Houston's favored by 2.5. It's Houston minus 2.5. That's a fringe one that I would be confident in doing a straight up, but not be confident in a point spread. I'm going 28-24 Houston here. I think we're going to see some fireworks with Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, Tank Dell from Houston. I think that's, CJ Stroud kind of gets right back to where he was. I think that's really smart. But I think Indianapolis is going to make this a lot bigger game. And also look for Laiatu Latu. I'm excited to see what he can do on that defensive line for Indianapolis. Alrighty. From Game 6, we go to Game 7. And a game that is wildly intriguing in a lot of ways. Tennessee at Chicago. Chicago's favored by 4.5 points. I would take that every day of the week. I don't know what it is, because I am never confident in the Bears. I'm confident in the Bears right now. It's insane to me to see where Chicago was defensively. And then they finally added the offensive pieces to get better. Now, we can say that and we haven't seen a game out of Caleb Williams. Okay, fine. However, Caleb Williams looks like the truth. He now has DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and Rome Odunze to throw the ball to against a suspect Tennessee defense. Plus, you have limited participation on the offensive side of the ball over in Tennessee with DeAndre Hopkins. You have better offensive line play theoretically coming with Bill Callahan coming in to coach the offensive line for his son Brian, who's the new head coach there. And Will Levis, Tennessee's hoping they can take a step. I do not see that. I see them in the weird 5-7 win ether zone, where they look like they could be better than they are, but they don't really ever do that. That's kind of where I see them. I have 24-14 Chicago here. I just don't think Tennessee can stop them. I am going to be looking forward to an early showing of Caleb Williams. And I'm going to be scared as a Packer fan, but as a football fan, analyst, podcaster, professional, whatever the hell you want to call me, I'm excited to see Caleb Williams for Chicago. So we're going to see what he can do. Now, we're going to continue that ONETA Football Show by going to Game 8. Game 8. Pittsburgh at Atlanta. This has all the recipe makings for a disaster. Now, let me tell you this. Atlanta's favored by -3. Or is favored -3. Still a toss-up game that I'm not sure what's going to happen, because Pittsburgh always outperforms. However, I really, really have issue with Pittsburgh's team right now. Specifically, look at the picture on screen. It's their starting quarterback in Russell Wilson. Atlanta just added Jesse Simmons. They have Justin Simmons. They have Jesse Bates. They have improved a little bit. Their secondary is good. They're going to shut down George Pickens. I have no qualms with that. And outside of George Pickens, What does Pittsburgh have? Plus, Pittsburgh is already having issues with Troy Fatanu has an injury. Isaac Suomalo, Suomatai, what? God, Suomalo. Yeah. Suomalo also having issues on that offensive line for Pittsburgh already. Russell Wilson did not look good whatsoever in the preseason. Russell Wilson looks like his career is probably coming to an end, frankly. I don't see Pittsburgh being a factor whatsoever. The biggest question I have now is, can Kirk Cousins, coming off an Achilles injury, make use of a decent a defensive O-line? Oh my God. A decent offensive line. Jesus Christ. Can he take advantage of that with all the pieces that they have with Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, and company down in Atlanta? Now, there is some question whether Pitts is going to play in this game, which I definitely have to watch with him as a fantasy player of mine. But nonetheless, I still think Atlanta puts up some points. I just don't think it's going to be the fireworks show that people want out of Atlanta, that people are predicting. I'm going to go 20-17 Atlanta. I would not take the point spread. I would still take straight up, though. I'm still calling this a toss-up game. That is where I would be with that said. However, before we go any further, because we've already covered half the games, we're moving at light speed today. Before we go further, I gotta ask you guys a favor. Like I said in the shout out earlier, I'm a small-time creator, fledgling artist, trying to make my way in the world, and I would love some help. It'd be great. And if you do want to help, don't go look at a Pittsburgh Steelers and Atlanta Falcon game. Head on over to the Etsy shop and go get yourself some stuff. Go get yourself some merch. Go to ptecreative.etsy.com. There you can find stickers, hats, hoodies, t-shirts, all kinds of fun stuff with new merch rolling out for next week as we roll week 1 to week 2. It's going to be a whole heck of a lot of fun to get a lot of that new merch up on the site. Cannot wait to get that there for you. So go get yourself some merch and help out a small-time creator. And we've got stuff that even if football, you listen to the podcast, you love it, but it's not necessarily the thing you're going to spend a ton of money on merch-wise, that's fine. There's other kinds of merch there too. So head on over to ptecreative.etsy.com, and there you can find all kinds of cool merch and support a small-time creator like myself. And I'd be super appreciative if you did that. But we have more games to cover, so let's go back to it. We move from Pittsburgh at Atlanta down to Minnesota at New York. The New York Giants, the G-Men, if you will, host the Minnesota Vikings. This is a game I waffled on, I believe. I originally had Minnesota. Yeah, originally had Minnesota losing this game. However, more and more I think about it, the more and more I'm seeing deficiencies on New York not being able to keep up with two players. It's called Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. Justin Jefferson, in my opinion, without question, is the best receiver in the league, and Sam Darnold usually starts decently well for Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold as the overall starter for Minnesota is not going to bode well, and they're in the 5 to 8 win category this year with Sam Darnold. And they were part of the no hope section that we had a couple shows ago because starting quarterback or your young quarterback goes down that you're going to probably try this year, and you can't give him that development rep time due to injury, which sucks. However, you still have the best receiver in the league. You still have Jordan Addison, who's a really good player. Couple weeks you're going to get TJ Hawkinson, but you don't have him this week. But they do have Kristen Darishaw and a good offensive line. It's whether their defense, which continually crumbles little by little, that I have concerns about, whether they can answer Malik Nabers. The whole question, the whole unknown in New York right now on the Giants side is Malik Nabers going to deliver? And is Daniel Jones going to be able to stay healthy enough behind a improved, at least league average offensive line now? Are they going to be able to be functional? It's going to be a hard task. Can they contain Malik Nabers? I think they're going to do that. Minnesota's only favored by 1.5. This is the definition of a toss-up game by Vegas. I took 23-21 Minnesota in this one. I originally thought Giants. I may be just going a little too much friendly love to my boy Brandon and Derek because they're just Giants lifers, and I have now have a small affection for them because of my time with Derek and Brandon. But nonetheless, when I looked at it a little bit more, I went Minnesota. It's a close game. I wouldn't be shocked if it goes either way. But I'm going 23-21 Minnesota on this one. I would stay away from this wholeheartedly if I was better, though. That's the definition of toss-up. I would not be going near that. Alrighty. We're going to go here now. From Minnesota, New York. We're going down to Carolina at New Orleans. Here I'm going to tell you straight up. I'm picking the upset. New Orleans is favored by 4. New Orleans -4. I do not see that. I don't understand that. New Orleans, more so than ever before, is a name team. They have names. They have Cam Jordan and Derek Carr and Demario Davis and all. There has been nothing positive out of New Orleans for years now outside of Chris Olave. Now, Carolina, from all intents and purposes, is improved at every level simply because they had another year to build a team. Their offensive line is improved, theoretically. Their head coaching position is improved with a young developer at the quarterback position. Who knows if he's going to be a full improvement over Frank Reich? However, Frank Reich just looked just not great at all last year. That's the easiest way to say it. When I'm looking at this team, I'm looking at a new look potential competency in which you have Deontay Johnson and Xavier Legette giving speed, physicality to a receiving core that had none of that last year. Plus, with that, you have Bryce Young finally going to be protected enough to maybe play. I don't think they're going to give up 65 sacks this year. I don't think they're magically going to be great. I don't want to say Carolina's going to be so much better. To me, this is more of a reflection of people think New Orleans is here, and I think they're here. And people think Carolina's here, and I think they're here. Not much, but I think they're a little bit better. I would not be shocked at all if Carolina takes that one. I'm picking an ugly one here. I'm going 16-14 Carolina. I have no faith in New Orleans, never will have faith in New Orleans in their current state, and they need to blow that team up so they can solve their future. If they want to have a team in 5 years, they need to blow this one up now because it's the only way to do it. Straight up. It's just how I would say it. I would stay away from that game as well, because the other thing is this: you could also get one of those bullshit New Orleans blowouts where they just threw to Chris Olave and they did great, but I don't trust that happening whatsoever. Alrighty, my friends, we're gonna go down Denver at Seattle with Bo Nix leading the charge for Denver. This is an interesting one to me. We have Seattle -6. That's a bit rich for my blood, but at the same time, I'm confident in that pick. I'm picking Seattle in this one, 26-19. It's something that is pretty easy for me to see because of this. Outside of New England, Denver might be another one of those teams in the running for least talented team in the league. You have Courtland Sutton. You have Garrett Bowles. I keep doing this away from my face because I'm like, I don't know what they have. And they have Patrick Surtain, who's one of the best corners in the league. That's it. They don't really have anybody else. They're hoping for Bo Nix to take this big step, which we're not sure if he's even capable of doing because he might be a limited player. I have this in a toss-up category, but I'm feeling more confident in my Seattle pick here. I will always tell you this. I'm a Geno supporter. Love Geno Smith. I think that offense has a lot of continuity on it from the sense of you now have a receiving core with Metcalf, Lockett, and Jackson Smith-Njigba taking another step with Geno and a decent offensive line, plus theoretically much improved defensive line play from Mike McDonald's defensive prowess. So to me, it's an obvious one here. Sean Payton might make this an interesting one, but that Denver offense is just so limited. So I'm going 26-19 Seattle. One thing I do want to say, I should have put this out in front, but too excited about the games. Um, I am picking every single game this year, and not just in one fashion like I did by picking it ahead of time. One thing I would highly suggest you do if you want to get into the betting game, which I played for a little bit and just wasn't enjoying it as much as I would like to. And I was usually breaking even or making a little bit or losing a little bit. It wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't like I lost so much and like I quit. Or I won so much that I was like, I have to keep going. It was kind of just like, it makes it a little bit more stressful. Whatever. Um, as a betting experiment, I'm picking every single game and seeing how accurate I am. So by the end of the year, we're going to see how smart I actually am in picking these games. That way, when it comes to next year, I have a little bit more factual evidence for it. So maybe I can't legally bet in the state of Wisconsin on sports betting just from my phone, but maybe I could go down a local sportsbook casino. Who knows? Because there are plenty of Native American-led casinos around here. And place a few bets. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? But nonetheless, I'm going to be tracking every single game and see how smart my game picks are. I have done this in the past. My highest rate is about a 60%, which is actually pretty damn good. My lowest is about, I think 1 year it was about 51, 52. So I'm always above 500, but it's how far above 500 are you? So that's the fun part in doing this. So I'm tracking all of these games, which is why, even though it doesn't really, I have no skin in the game, I still think it's important to pick the game. So I'm going 26-19 Seattle on this one as we go to another game. And we're going to go to Las Vegas at the Chargers. So I'm kind of bullish on the Chargers right now. LA is favored with 3 points here. Here's a big thing that I have with Vegas. They have a suspect secondary, and they have a suspect quarterback play. With an offensive line that's not bad, but it's not good either. So, target share, Brock Bowers is there, Michael Mayers had a pretty decent camp from all reports. They have a few pieces on offense, but is Gardner Minshew going to just go out and let it rip? Absolutely not. Whereas in Los Angeles, you now have a complete changing of the guard in which you're transitioning from this team that was trying to just score everybody because their defense, even with a defensive coach and as many pieces as they have that are talented on their defense, was just trying to outscore people. They're not going to try to do that. They're going to try to play strict fundamental football a lot more and smash you with game control and ground control. That's the biggest thing for Los Angeles now. I mean, hell, they even have a 300-pound fullback, which is absurd, which I love. Don't be shocked when you see Los Angeles winning these games and not super cool fashion, but you're seeing Justin Herbert consistently taking steps to where the pressure's off him, doesn't have to do everything anymore. And that hardball coaching is going to come in a little bit. Like I said, Chargers, they're favored at 3. It'd be hard buy-in for me, but I'm confident in this game. I'm going 23-17 Chargers. And unless Devontae Adams just rips the Chargers a new one, I don't see them taking that game. So I'm going Chargers. And as we move forward, we're going to Dallas at Cleveland. Woof. I mean, let's be frank here. Let's be honest. This is a game that to me is a total toss-up, complete toss-up. And when I think about it, I'm just trying to figure it out. Like, where do we go from here? What do we do with both of these teams? Because they have a lot of talent, but then at the same time, they're just not. they're just not cooking the way you'd want them to cook. And I just keep hearing this in my head when I think about both of their seasons.
Here we go! Yeah, here we go! Here we go!
Like, here we go, here we go, here we go. Now, they both have a major question mark to me. You just got CeeDee Lamb back into practice. That's great. The largest target share in the NFL by far this year probably looks like CeeDee Lamb. But Cleveland has a defense that's really, really damn good. By the way, Dallas, outside of CeeDee Lamb, has almost no options in the offensive side of the ball. It's chuck it to CeeDee Lamb, and then you can maybe get Brandon Cooks involved, or Jalen Tolbert involved a little bit, but you have Ezekiel out in the running back spot. Offensively, it's Dak to CD, or that's it. Against a defense that's led by the defensive player of the year, with a good secondary, with a good linebacking core, with a good pass rush. Oh, and by the way, Dallas is starting their rookie first-round pick, Tyler Guyton, who has been injured for the last 3 weeks, against Myles Garrett. That does not look like a recipe for success to me. However, you also have Michael Parsons pass rushing against a hugely depleted piece of Cleveland known as their quarterback, Deshaun Watson. So just two giant ass, I don't know. Can Dak even throw to CD if Myles Garrett's in his face all the time? I don't know. But at the same time, can Deshaun Watson be functional, especially with the pass rush from Michael Parsons? I don't know. It's just a huge, here we go, because I have no idea. Plus, Cleveland's outside of use of Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb's probably not going to be back till about week 5 or 6. So that's problematic. However, there's plenty of pieces on Cleveland's offense to still be good. Jerome Ford will be a very good piece to have there to help them out. I'm still picking Cleveland in this one. Cleveland is favored by 2.5. I'm going 21-19 Cleveland. I just don't think any offense of either team really busts out to control that game with the quality of the defense in Cleveland and the continuity issues of the offense. So I'm going to pick Cleveland in that one. I would stay away if I were a bettor because it's a total toss-up game. Don't take this game unless you absolutely have to. Now, we're moving away from the controversy game. Oh, by the way, it's Tom Brady's first game. Speaking of his old team in Tampa, it's Tom Brady's first game in that Dallas game as a commentator. So it's going to be interesting to hear what he has to say in the commentary booth. Now, we go Washington at Tampa. So, this kind of feels like Island of Misfit Toys game where you kind of just go, yeah, they're here. Like, okay. When I look at this Washington team, they're talent deficient in a lot of spots, but they have highlight players. In terms of not necessarily, oh, they make so many highlights, but you have strong pieces, but do you have a whole? You have Jaden Daniels now at quarterback, so at least should be interesting in Washington. You have Brian Robinson Jr., who's a very functional running back, in my opinion. Terry McLaurin, who I think is one of the most underrated wide receivers every single year. I adore Terry McLaurin. I got snaked in my fantasy draft because I take Terry McLaurin every single year, and it always pays off, and I was like 2 picks away. Someone snaked him from me. But I don't feel good ever going into a fantasy season without Terry McLaurin. Defensively, you have Jonathan Allen and you have Dan Quinn coming in to revamp this team. A lot of questions marks here, and I don't think Washington starts hot. I think Washington just kind of is exciting because it's chaos. Meanwhile, in Tampa, you do have some continuity, although you lose your offensive coordinator, but you still have Baker Mayfield going to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. I think that's going to take them over the top in this one. Tampa's favored by 3. I'm going to take 27-20 Tampa. I think it's going to be fun because I don't think either defense here is great. Tampa has a good defense, and Antoine Winfield Jr. is tremendous. But still, again, it's kind of the amalgamation of pieces versus the amalgamation of a team in both senses. Um, Again, not confident toss-up game. I told you there's a lot of toss-up games in this one, but I'd still take Tampa in this one, and I would expect to have a good day if you're favoring Tampa's offense in your betting. It's just my take on it. Alrighty, and we go now. I keep saying alrighty. You're welcome for that, by the way. Alrighty then. Rams at Detroit Lions. This is our Sunday night football game. It's going to be a fun one because I think it's going to be a fireworks show. We have Detroit minus 3.5. Originally, when I did the game preview, this was the waffle pick because I took the Rams overpowering Detroit, which I could still see that happening. Detroit's favored by 3.5. I do not like that at all. Stay away from that money line, or stay away from that point spread. Money line, maybe take it if you want to, but I'm staying away from that wholeheartedly. I don't want to do that. So that's a big concern for me when I look at it. I'm taking 33-30 Detroit in this one because I'm seeing the Rams give away pieces and not have a ton of continuity on defense. But they can score points because they always score points. With Stafford, a healthy Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, and Kyron Williams in the backfield, they should be good. Plus, they have Kyron Williams returning kicks, which is going to be really interesting. Meanwhile, in Detroit, offensive line is probably the best in football. The Rams always play well against Jared Goff because they know Jared Goff well, though. So, but you still have a loaded offense with St. Brown, Porta, Jameson Williams can get in the mix in this one as well. So, and you got David Montgomery running the ball with with Jahmyr Gibbs. So you got plenty of options on offense. But again, it's what team can really slow down enough. And I just look at it. I think Detroit's going to probably outgun them here. But I'm not going to be shocked if the Rams take it either. So that's why I'm taking 33-30 Detroit on this one. But I wouldn't touch this game if I were a bettor. I wouldn't even take the money line. I'd just be like, nah, let that one go by. Let it go by. And finally, the last game of the week here. The Jets are going to San Francisco. New York Jets are going to San Francisco. San Francisco's favored by 4. I do not like the point spread, but I like the money line here. I'm confident that San Francisco is going to pull this one out. San Francisco always starts well. San Francisco has probably the second best coach in the NFL in Kyle Shanahan. The only one I think is better is Andy Reid. It's rust. Trent Williams has been a holdout all of camp. Brandon Ayuk just got back. Ricky Pearsall, this is not to make light of it, but your rookie wide receiver to be your number 3 just got shot and isn't playing. Like, it's just weird stuff going on, and Debo's got a lot of mileage on him. And Christian McCaffrey's been a little banged up. However, it's week 1. They're going to be healthy enough to sneak this one out. I think it's going to be a fun, competitive game in which I have 24-23 because I think Aaron Rodgers, with a chip on his shoulder, although coming off an Achilles injury, with a chip on his shoulder, Aaron Rodgers does well. Plus, that team offensively now has theoretically a lot better offensive line to protect him. You still have Garrett Williams, you have Mike Williams, you have Breece Hall. There are pieces here to make sure Aaron succeeds. And it's crazy to me, like, my fantasy draft is a perfect example of how people are feeling in the not talking head media, where everyone just says, Aaron Rodgers is going to be great. A lot of people do not believe that's the case. I'll give you a perfect case in point. I picked up Aaron Rodgers in a 13-round draft. I picked him in round 13 as my backup quarterback. And I know fantasy football is different than everything else. However, Aaron Rodgers is never a bad option in fantasy football. He's never a bad option in real football. And it's just kind of the way people are thinking. And it's insane to me that so many people are, biggest question mark this year for the Jets, Aaron Rodgers. I mean, it's pretty crazy to see, and I think it's a valid concern, but I don't foresee it coming through. The Jets' defense is another question mark to me. They're loaded. They have great pieces everywhere, but are they going to be able to put it together and stay consistently great? I'm not sure because that didn't work out last year when they thought, oh, defense will just win it. Once they lost Aaron, oh, our defense will be fine. They didn't go make a trade for a quarterback. They didn't go out and try to do anything to salvage their season. They just said the defense will carry us, and they didn't necessarily pull that off. So I still think San Francisco schemes the Jets. They know how to play Saleh with Saleh's time in the building. I'm going 24-23 in a competitive one, probably a last minute field goal for San Francisco to win it. But I'm going to take San Francisco. I'd stay away from the money line, or stay away from the point spread. I'd take the money line here for San Francisco though, which is always super interesting and fun to do. Now, I do want to talk a little bit before we get to some bold predictions and our Super Bowl pick here. And I'm going to pick some award winners here. Now, you are watching the ONETA Football Show right now, or listening to the ONETA Football Show, and thank you for doing so. And it is because we are now going into this huge, giant pack season of action and fun that the ONETA Show, or the ONETA Football Show, I should say, is now moving to twice a week. So we're now going to have a Monday show reacting to all the games, and we're going to have our Thursday show. Shows are going to probably be a little bit shorter, and I don't even know if we're going to give a full week's preview of every single game. We're going to pick every game, but not, give a full preview, kind of similarly to even what we did today. So things are going to be changing here on the show. However, we're still going to be doing a lot of great coverage, and now we're going to be doing twice a week. So you can find us Mondays, and you can find us Thursdays here at PT Creative, whether you're on YouTube or Spotify, and you can check out a lot of new stuff. Be on the lookout on Sunday for a lot of cool things because we're going to get a lot of new changes coming to the channel, which is going to be a lot of fun. But I want to let you know we're going to twice a week now for your football viewing and listening pleasure. Check out more episodes of the ONETA Football Show coming soon. But now, with that programming note out of the way, I'm going to give some bold predictions here, and I'm going to pick every major category, the 6 major winners. I'll go to my predictions here for our award winners at the end of the year at the NFL Honors Ceremony, and then I'm going to do some bold predictions and end with a Super Bowl pick. But here we are. Award winners. I'm going to keep this one as simple as possible. We're going to start with Offensive Rookie of the Year. My prediction is Caleb Williams. It always will be Caleb Williams. Anyone who picks against Caleb Williams, more power to him. Don't necessarily see that one. Is it a lock? No. But is it a pretty damn close to a lock? Yeah. So I'm going Caleb Williams as my offensive rookie. Defensive Rookie of the Year is a little bit more difficult. Not a lot of people stand out. I think this could be another Kobe Turner kind of situation over in LA, or last year it wasn't that Will Anderson Jr. was bad. He was great, but he wasn't like groundbreakingly good like a lot of our Defensive Rookie of the Year winners in the past. But it just wasn't a strong year for defensive rookies at all. This year, I think it's going to be something similar, but I'm going to take Laiatu Latu from Indianapolis. I think he's going to pile up a few sacks here, be impactful. I really like Latu. There's a reason I shouted him out earlier in the game previews. There's not a lot of good picks here. I thought about going Quinion Mitchell, but I don't have any faith in Philadelphia, so I didn't want to do that. So I'm going Laiatu Latu as my Defensive Rookie of the Year. And I also looked at Byron Murphy up in Seattle. Coach of the Year, speaking of Seattle, I'm going Mike McDonald. I have a lot of faith in Seattle. Why? I'm not sure. I think it's simply because they have the pieces and they kind of underachieved last year. And they only got better. They didn't get worse. And now they have kind of the ghosts of Pete Carroll out of the building. I love Pete. I think Pete's wonderful and one of the best football coaches of the last 20 years. However, certainly with Pete at the end of his regime, it just kind of felt like it was time for a change, and now they have that. But they still have all the talent that they had to make them always a competitor going into playoff time. So I think Mike McDonald's going to wow some people with some coaching efforts, and I like Seattle a lot this year. Defensive player of the year, I'm going chalk. I'm going Micah Parsons. Um, Very rarely are we going to see repeat guys back to back, so I wouldn't take Myles Garrett. I could see a lot of times just because it's flabbergasting to me how he hasn't won it yet with so many primetime games for Dallas already. However, I think this is going to be the year where Dallas has to rely on him so much that he's going to just fucking ball out and be amazing. And I'm going to go defensive player of the year, Michael Parsons. My offensive player of the year, I wanted to go away from a lot of the traditional picks. So I gave you two here. The one I'm actually going to, if you force me to pick one, I'm going to go Bijan Robinson. I think people think that Atlanta's just going to be this huge passing attack, and I don't agree with that at all. I think they're going to be a really well balanced team that's going to perform better and automatically get more eyeballs. And running back is typically where I'm going to go here because we're so loaded at the receiver position that it's really hard to see one standing out above the rest, especially with the logical choices. Justin Jefferson's getting passed to from Sam Darnold. Devontae Adams from Gardner Minshew. Brock Purdy is the one passing to Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel. Joe Burrow, I think, could win your comeback player of the year. I wouldn't be shocked about that. I don't see Jamar Chase getting it either because of, in terms of offensive player of the year, because T. Higgins is still on that team. So a lot of those logical receiver threats I didn't see coming. So I went with Bijan Robinson. But if I had to pick a receiver, I also went outside. I went Garrett Wilson. I think Garrett Wilson's going to get the vast majority of the passing target share from Aaron Rodgers. That was abundantly clear if you watched camp last year, or you watched any preseason, that Garrett Wilson was the guy that Aaron trusted. So by target share alone, I'm going to pick Garrett Wilson as an outside pick for Offensive Player of the Year. But if you're going to force me to pick one, I'm going Bijan Robinson. And my MVP, it's a homer pick. I don't care because it just looks like the truth, because he was already playing MVP ball last year, and that is my boy Jordan Love. Jordan played absolutely phenomenal football last year. The last 10 weeks of that season, he was impeccable. And he's only going to get better now. That's because there's even more continuity, more consistency, and more time with that team, and even more of a mastery with confidence that he's playing with. I love Jordan Love as my MVP pick here. Won't take it back. And that is where I'm going to leave my MVP pick. And I just think my other logical choice was Patrick Mahomes, and I don't think Patrick's going to win, mostly because, frankly, no one wants to vote for Patrick anymore, even though that's stupid because Patrick's the best player in the league. Going Jordan Love. Alrighty. That might be my catchphrase at this point, frankly. Bold predictions, and we're going to end with a Super Bowl pick here. I'm going to give you an appetizer. I'm going to give you 3 here. Appetizer, entree, and dessert. They're going to grow in what I think is relevancy. I think the most obvious one, so is it Super Bowl? No, which is why I give you an appetizer on this one. Pittsburgh is going to have their first losing season with Mike Tomlin. Their offense is just so bad. It's just so bad. And their defense is really reliant on TJ Watt. And you're in a super tough division with a decently tough schedule. I'm just going to look at Pittsburgh's schedule quick here. I mean, Pittsburgh is playing Atlanta. Denver is not a great matchup for them just because it's a weird toss-up game. Chargers, Indy, Dallas, Vegas, Jets. Giants, I'll give you a win there. Washington, it might give them a run just because of the offensive firepower they could have if Jaden Daniels works. Baltimore, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Philly, Baltimore, Kansas City, Cincinnati. Does that look like a recipe for success for Pittsburgh? It certainly doesn't to me. I just have no faith in their offense whatsoever. So I'm going to bold prediction number 1: Pittsburgh has their first losing season with Mike Tomlin. Bold prediction number 2, your entree, if you will. San Francisco will not make the NFC title game. 4 out of the last 5 years, it has been San Francisco. The only year it did not make it was the Tom Brady Super Bowl year with Tampa. And that was a heartbreaking loss in Green Bay. But 4 of the last 5 years, San Francisco has made the NFC title game, and they are clearly still the class of the NFC. It was shown last year. there's just some weird juju around San Francisco that I don't like, and the dam is starting to break there, where you're seeing more holdouts, more strife, and you're seeing players aging. Debo was already showing small signs of age last year. You're seeing a banged up Christian McCaffrey who has had injury histories in the past. Has had an injury history in the past. Trent Williams did not practice pretty much all of August, and you saw in the Super Bowl that that offensive line was really Trent Williams and not much else. Defensively, they're not they're not as wowing without Dre Greenlaw at full strength here, and Fred Warner uh, has it's been learned how to attack Fred Warner. Fred Warner's still a great player, but he's not a stack and shed kind of guy like people like to say he is, which is a concern, frankly. So when I look at San Francisco, I look at still a very, very great team, but I'm looking at kind of a decadent team here. So, and Brock Purdy, he played really well last year. Um, I don't think he has the talent to play that well every year. So I'm going San Francisco does not make the NFC title game as bold prediction number 2. And you can say it's not super bold, whatever. I'll end with a pretty damn bold prediction by a lot of people's standards. Miami, Philly, Dallas, at least 2 out of the 3 do not make the playoffs. At least 2. And if you were asking me fully, I'd say all 3 miss the playoffs. Problem is, I don't know who it. I don't see the Giants or Washington taking the East, which inherently means Dallas or Philly has to take the East. So that's why I'm going with 2 out of the 3 teams I just mentioned will miss the playoffs. Dallas is prone for collapse. Their offense is CeeDee Lamb and nothing else. Their defense now is kind of Micah Parsons or nothing else. And you have the ungodly pressure that Jerry Jones, like an idiot, put on his team by saying, "We're all in. We're all in." Well, I don't fucking know why you would do that because that team's not as good as you think it is. Meanwhile, Philly, you have the whole rebuilding of a team back after losing faith in their coach. Don't like that. Their secondary is still suspect, even though it got better with their picks. It's whether they can stay healthy and gel well first. Not sure about that. And their defensive line is not great. Is not as good as everyone says it is, although it theoretically should get better because they have a lot of guys. Plus, offensively, you lost Jason Kelsey. That's a big loss on your team because the tush push was such a important part of their offense. And people are starting. It's still super effective. I'm not going to try to say, "Oh, Philly, they can't do that anymore." That'd be stupid. But without Jason Kelsey there, a center is way more important than people give them credit for. Is Philly probably prepared for that loss? Probably. But that's like saying, "Oh, well, we lost our great player. So we got a replacement. We're ready for it." Like, yeah, we have a plug and play, but we don't have a quality plug and play the same way. Because Jason Kelsey is a phenomenal center. So that's going to be a big loss for them. And when I'm looking at that, it doesn't give me a lot of confidence. And I just don't like the juju in Philly. Miami. Miami is a super top heavy team that is not deep with a lot of injury history. Bradley Chubb is still injured and out. Jalen Phillips is coming off an injury, and that's not great for a pass rusher whatsoever. You're relying, your best secondary threat is Jalen Ramsey, who has an injury history. Tyreek Hill is a year older. Jalen Waddle is already banged up. You lost Robert Hunt, which doesn't bode well for interior pressure on a guy in Tua who is not good against interior pressure. Like, there's a lot in my... Plus, you're still relying on Teron Armstead. Great left tackle when he plays. Problem is, he only plays half a season. So, no. And then, when you look past those stars, you're not seeing a ton of depth in Miami to give a lot of hope. And they just always flame out in November and December, and they can't play in January. I think at least 2 of the 3 are missing the playoffs. I could see all 3 missing it. The problem is the NFC East is trash. So I can't see both Philly and Dallas missing it, although as much as I think both teams could merit that. So, but that's just me. That's my bold prediction. That's your dessert for your bold prediction here. And I'm going to end with my Super Bowl pick of the year. No problem admitting this. It's a super homer pick. But I'm just looking at, if I don't have San Francisco in the Super Bowl, which I don't, I need to pick a logical option to go for. I think the most logical option is Green Bay, because I think Detroit is a little bit higher on their horse than they actually are, especially with the Jared Goff issues of interior pressure, which is easy to attack. The Rams is a health concern for me that I don't like. I don't believe in Philly. I don't believe in Dallas, like I said. Your most logical option is Green Bay. I'm taking Green Bay as the NFC representative. And until someone stops him, I ain't betting against him. And so I'm going Kansas City, going for the three-peat. I'm going to ultimately do the homer thing. I'm going to pick my home team. But logic dictates it's not just a homer pick. It's just logical. So I'm going Kansas City versus Green Bay in the Super Bowl. And I'm going to say the three-peat is stopped by my boy Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. That is my Super Bowl pick for this year. So before you go, I want to say thank you guys so much for watching. Check us out on our socials. A lot of things are going to be changing now. We're going to daily programming at PTE Creative with 2 ONETA football shows. The ONETA Show on Tuesday and the ONETA Movie Show is still on Saturday. So we have 4 podcasts. Plus we have all the other really good stuff that we have coming. So the Pokemon packs are now moving to Sunday. Wednesday, you're still going to get the Pokemon Bliss and Oblivion project with all new artwork, which is going to be really fun. And Friday, you're still going to get a lot of rotational stuff. So check out some really fun specials coming your way as we get closer eking into the fall with a lot of cool, fun projects coming your way. But check out all that programming over at PTE Creative. It's awesome. You're going to love it. So whether you're on YouTube or Spotify, go find it best you can, and you can check our socials to do that. And if you want to support us even more, go look at the new merch coming to Etsy at ptecreative.etsy.com. That's going to do it here for us, folks. Hope you enjoy week 1 just as much as I am. Peace, love, and hugs to you all. 07s. Bye!